like my colleagues, I'd like to wish Commissioner Harris the very best. We've had a lot of interaction with commissioners over the last number of years, and I think we all need a strong, fair, trustworthy and efficient force, and we are part of our daily lives, everyone's daily lives, so I want to wish you the best in the years ahead, and the force as well. And that a lot of the controversies that we had are behind us now, and that we can move on to a better force, I suppose. That's the thing. I just want to start with a few sundry items there on appropriation aid. I want to ask you about the Garda College receipts. 2018 700,000, 18 608, and 19 300,000. Just what are the Garda College receipts? What are they? Just explain them.
Primarily restaurant-related receipts, so money that's taken from the shop, from the restaurant, from the use of the services in the college.
So, and that money is put into the general.
It comes back into standard appropriations.
So it's money that's earned from the shops, etc.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, okay. And we had a lot of controversy down there about shops and things, so we won't go back there. I just want to ask you now about the firearm fees. They just went from very low in 2019 up to 400,000. That's 10 million. What's that? Can you explain that to me? The firearm fee is there on the appropriation in aid.
Yeah, the firearms fee, they're not an annual cost. They're a cost that's done every couple of years. So that, as such, the cost would not be flat. So it'll be.
But it increased an awful lot from, I'm just looking at there, 2017 up to 2019. Why is that increased so much in 1 year? That's what I'm asking. You know, the major jump there. Yeah, 5 times what it cost every other year. Why is it so much in 2019? That's all I'm asking the question.
The firearm fees are on a 3-year cycle. So there is a bulk year. There is 1 year every 3 years which we get a lot of fees in, and that's why it's reflected. I think it goes back to when we first started issuing the.
Sorry, can you explain what a firearm fee is? Is that what it costs to buy arms? Is that what you're talking?
It's a license. There's an annual cost. You have a license for a firearm, and that's
the general public you're talking.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I understand that. Sure, yeah. I know that. I'm a farmer. I know shotguns and things like that.
So
yes.
and that's the cost that's about.
Oh sorry, I was taught as the firearms within the police force. Oh sorry.
No. It's the firearm, and because that was originally renewable every year. And then when the licensing regime changed, it was renewable every 3 years. But it's not all of them are every 3. So if you buy one this year, it's in 3 years, and next year it's 3 years from that.
Yeah, the only reason why I asked is the sum increased so much in over 4 or 5 years. Why? That's all I'm asking.
And it's just related back to when
that's okay. Safety cameras, and these were mentioned already. I just want to ask you 2 questions about safety cameras. There was talks about body cameras for each policeman individually, each police person. Body cameras, is that a policy for the future, or is it something you're looking at? And what kind of costs would be involved? We see reports on it in papers and that about having a body. It's in other police force, I think in England in particular. And I think the Garda Representative Association themselves would be very anxious that this would come on stream for every reason, for law reasons, for safety reasons, and then for proof and witness reasons, etc., etc. So, what is the policy on the police force on body cameras? I call them.
Well, our policy would be to introduce them. We need legislation to enable that. That's been worked through, and is one of the recommendations from the Commission of Future Policing. And so we'll need legislation. I think when we look to purchase equipment, one of the facts for us is that we will be issuing smartphones which have a video facility, and rather than buy another camera, we may actually use our existing mobility mobile that we've issued. So the costs, we have to just decide what way we're going to go with these, but we have some time in that. The legislation has to be passed as well. But if we're doing an outrun of 10,000 odd smartphones, which you can obviously record video on, then that may be an alternative rather than buying a bespoke camera. I want that examined.
What kind of cost? Do we know any? What kind of cost to roll it out? Say even for 10,000 to roll it out.
Well, the cameras themselves are going to be in the mid-hundreds. But the aspect then is beyond that is the storage and how long material is stored for, and so that's actually where some of the costs are, and that depends whether it's 30 days or a year, and you really start to rack up costs there, and also then your instructions on when they're being used. So as well to record. And
would mobiles could, if they were stolen, would there be problems there? For we say,
well, it's the whole issue. The whole issue then is about the secure download, and then the security then of that as an evidential package that you can then produce to a criminal
if there was
inquiry.
some fractions or something that a guard had to go into, that this camera would be on the whole time, that to take,
Yes.
you'd have a feel of what's going on, what's even happening on the ground, and that whoever be sitting watching would know exactly for witness in court in future.
Well,
it
it provides another record of an event, and that can not only just be, you know, some form of confrontation, whatever shape that might be, but more importantly, it can also be the first report of domestic abuse, a first report of a serious sexual assault, but also in contentious situations, it can provide to GSOC an independent eyewitness to the whole event, and it's been very useful in other jurisdictions in actually vindicating police officers in other jurisdictions in the manner in which they behaved. So I know GRA are attracted to it for that reason. It's spoken of formally by, you know, neighbouring associations, and it does ease the pressure on individual members whenever they're complained about, because they know then there's this record of the event. But beyond that, there are very strong protection reasons and policing of sensitive areas where it can make a real difference.
Have you already those cameras on the police cars?
There are some cars which are fitted with ANPR, with automatic number plate recognition.
Not every squad car.
Not every vehicle. That's more the roads policing vehicles, and then that alerts vehicles which are on our pulse system for various reasons.
Would it be a policy to roll that out to every squad car in the future? Is it cost prohibitive?
Well, actually, as time goes on and the technology becomes more commonplace, it does become more cost effective. It's then that you need to be sure that your database behind that then is accurate as well. So there are other issues just around the data and also data transmission as well. But the technology keeps on moving on. Things which were, you know, expensive and prohibitive 5 years ago were becoming more and more actually affordable and really doable in terms of just preventing crime, detecting crime, and even as it is at the moment, you know, if we have an incident, we try our best to flood that area with ANPR vehicles to hoover up and identify any vehicles in the area.
Can I ask you, Deputy Kelly referred to CCTV under the programme from government? There was a commitment given by the government that they would put CCTV, especially on motorways, and I'm particularly talking about Kilkenny now because we have two motorways going through the Kilkenny Carlow, and there's a lot of robberies, which I say fly-by-night robberies. They come from Dublin or from Limerick, and they come in, and there's obviously they have some local knowledge. They come off the motorways, 20 minutes, half hour. They've done it in Ullingford and North Kilkenny several times, yes. And they're gone onto the motorway and they're back before even the Garda know about it. They're back in Dublin, or I'm not saying where, but some big city I hide.
Yes.
And I've asked the minister for just several times about this CCTV, but it doesn't see it. What's your opinion on CCTV on junctions coming off the motorways and the future of they being provided?
Well, I think maybe the route for this is also automatic number plate recognition, static cameras, which are providing then a constant read of vehicles who are on the motorway and exiting and entering the motorway. Again, used in other jurisdictions, can give you information then, so if there is a suspicious vehicle, then but you need it again to have the software and the office sitting behind that can analyse the data, because it's not always that you'll know the number plate. All you'll know is a description of the vehicle, you know, a black Ford Focus, and your system needs to be able to look for black Ford Focuses moving at that time.
So we won't see CCTV on every junction coming off of motorways. We say the major motorways. We won't see that happening in the short term then.
Well, I think there's probably there may well be a legislative issue around that as well that we need to address, but certainly make a significant contribution around crime prevention, crime detection, and there is a pattern where crime gangs are obtaining vehicles then that don't move for a number of months and then reappear, and again you can program your NPR to identify that as well. So, you know, there's significant benefits in an ANPR system, I would say it has to be targeted though towards where you think you're going to get reap benefits in terms of crime detection and prevention.
I just want to ask you then, that brings us to the pulse system, and we had OPW in just a month or two ago here, and we had questions about the pulse system and about the Garda Síochána, and we know what happened before with the breath testing and the penalty fines. And is the pulse system that you have in Phillies Park, is it up to scratch? Is it efficient enough? Is it modern day system? Computer-wise, because we've had a lot of complaints about the pulse system, or is it the expertise or the human resources that's available, or that people are feeding it as the problem? Is the system, or is the expertise on the ground that's feeding the pulse system if we have problems, that's where the problems lie?
Well, the pulse system has, people talk about pulse, and goes back a long time, but pulse has had, so release after release and addition after addition, and even in going through the preparation for the Schengen process, we've had to do a huge rebuild of the pulse system itself. But I think at the view of our own ICT people is that we may have to consider moving to some other system, migrating to some other system.
I just see your ICT, investigation management system. Is that a different system to Pulse now? Is that a new system within the Garda force? It's different than Pulse, is it?
Yeah, the investigation management system, specific system where if you have an investigation, then you load up your statements, you load up the actions that you've taken, all the various inquiries, and that gives oversight, but also gives a framework for the member to conduct their investigation against the specific crime types. But also it'll allow us then to have more information about who's offending and where the offending is happening, and that'll be good for our analytical work. But also we can see in respect, of the problem of car insurance and fraud and these set-up accidents, you can identify, because it's happening right across the country, but our investigation management system is a national system when it rolls out as well. That'll identify people who are very unlucky in their driving and have 20 accidents a year. It'll identify cars which are also very unlucky and are in a dozen accidents a year, and that would be a real...
And that's a complete different system than the Pulse is, completely separate. And is this based in Phillies Park as well?
Well, yes it is, but it is linked into it because we want information that's in a investigation management system which is relevant then for Pulse should go across, so an individual's under investigation for some sort of serious offence, for instance.
Sounds like a very efficient system. How long will it take to roll it out completely?
The investigation management system till 2020.
Yeah, it'll be the end of 2020. It's already in Waterford, and it is now rolling out into that southeastern region, so your own area in Kilkenny, Carlow, and that's the next phase of that. And there is a scheduled rollout. I'm only
a few miles from Waterford as well. Even though I know how Waterford and Kilkenny are, but I'm only a few miles from the border.
So it has been implemented in Waterford. It's been rolled out in that wider area, and then between now and the end of 2020, it is intended that the vast majority of the entire country. Some of the national units have also been trained in it and has been rolled out.
Okay, only two more questions. Just the Reserve Force, the Garda Reserve Force. I didn't hear anyone mention today. You didn't mention any numbers or figures. Do you support about the Garda Reserve Force? Do you think they are playing an important part in the system, and should they be increased or should they be kept at the level they are at? Or is this a stepping stone into the Garda Síochána itself? Is it being used as that?
Yes, and that's correct. And it's a good opportunity for those who might be considering a career in Garda Síochána to be exposed to what the police work is like and whether they'd be interested in it or not. But even beyond that, we are committed to it. We are committed to expanding the size of the Garda Reserve. We have to finish off a piece of work around the strategy for it going forward.
How many is in the Garda Reserve Force?
There's 500 at the moment. We just recently recruited a further 100, and the experience from other jurisdictions is that it is a good route for those less well represented in the main force to see what the organisation is like, and a route for them to join through.
Have you any statistics on the percentage that actually joined the Garda force from the reserve? Is that I'm only asking that. It's only a general question.
I'm not sure. Any time I'm at one of the passing out parades, there's always a few who have been in the
What's the
Garda
target?
Reserve.
What's the target for the reserve forces?
At 2,000. 2,000. So we're at 500. So we have a big recruitment. We have a big recruitment plan in respect to the Garda Reserve, but we see that as important around visibility and particularly at crucial times. And that's what our strategy wants to reflect. You know, that we can give people certainty about when they're required and what duties they're required to do, and also then you know, the hours that we will expect in return for
To be mostly
the
community,
training.
to be mostly community policing that the reserve forces.
We would envisage that it's very much aligned with community policing and maybe high-profile events. So helping to provide numbers in respect of sporting events or concerts, etc. But also then helping to deal with the nighttime economy and community policing.
Right, and just the police force at the moment is at 14,000. Is it
A little over 14,000.
Over 14,000, and is it envisioned to go to 16,000? I think is it over
15.
15 over what term?
15 by 2021.
And if you had 15,000, would that be sufficient to, we say, to police the country without any, you know, with Brexit coming, perhaps there could be other problems here. We could have, would 15,000 be sufficient enough to handle that? If I'm only mentioning Brexit just because it's on the horizon. And
we're under stresses at the moment, but you know, like, we're a can-do organisation, and so we have to deal with these matters. At 15,000, that'll be the strongest we've been ever. But bear in mind also then that we'll have 4,000 Garda staff, and part of that deployment, a good portion of that deployment, 1,500 of that, is to allow other experienced Garda members to be displaced out to the front line as well. So you know, we will have a strong then real frontline contingent, whatever that might be, because that's detective duties as well as uniform policing, and we'll be in a strong place then. And I think you know, there's pressures on us, and we want to grow certainly the armed support unit, but also then some of our national units as well need further supplementing, as well as community policing.
And are we recruiting enough? We say we mentioned already 800 and 600 this year, because with retirements and you know, people leaving the force, is there any standing still whereby just having 600? Should we have it up to 800? I know there's budgetary constraints. You've mentioned it already, but should we be looking at maybe 800 to 1,000 recruits a year just to increase that numbers?
Well, 1,000 would be a very stretching number, given that you know, we have a good sense now of how quickly we can expand. I think 800 is what we can do, and that creates pressures in doing that. But no, I'm content that we followed the right course. The budget constraint was actually my responsibility as accounting officer to stay within 1.76 billion, and that's the way I cut up the pie. But I still think that was also then tactically viable in terms of concentrating this year on the Garda staff to displace experienced people out on the ground.
Okay. And that, just one more question, and it is already being, so I'm not going to go over again by Deputy Canan, it's about GSOC and the relationship with the Gardaí, because it's in the papers this week. We read all about it and the complaints from GSOC. What is the relationship between yourselves, between the Garda Síochána and GSOC?
Well,
is it a good relationship? Have you entered to and fro? I mean, is the Ombudsman, they're supposed to be looking at what's happening in the Garda.
Well,
reports of the paper didn't sound good, like it didn't look good, it didn't look like good reading.
But I would say we have a very good relationship with GSOC, and certainly for my part and the part of my senior team, we very much want to work hand in hand with them. None of us wants to see anyone who's in Garda Síochána engaged in any form of wrongdoing. We want to see public complaints properly investigated and brought to conclusion as expeditiously as possible. But also we are determined to make sure that those who engage in criminality, inappropriate associations, use of drugs, all of that is proactively looked at and combated, and I want to play my part in that as well.
Was a reference really on the paper, just reading the papers, a reference that, you know, the Gardaí are investigating themselves, the superintendents are investigating personnel of their own, from their own force, which is probably not the ideal situation, and GSOC, this delegation that GSOC weren't aware of even some investigations are going on, and yet they are supposed to be the Ombudsman, they are supposed to be the body that's supposed to be aware of any wrongdoing in the Garda Síochána, which I understand is in every force and in every walk of life we have wrongdoing, and people have the weeds have to be weeded out. I'm just saying, what do you think of that report? Do you accept that the Gardaí should be investigating themselves, or that GSOC should be involved in some way or in some role to play in disciplinary matters within the Garda Síochána?
Well, they do have a role to play in that they investigate complaints. And also they
But they said they weren't aware of some. They weren't aware of some. That's what they were saying. At least that's what the report said.
Well, I suppose these are matters that we've uncovered ourselves as in Garda Síochána, probably through intelligence or through reporting from within the organisation, and we followed through on those investigations. And I would point to the very high standard that those investigations have been conducted to. Like many of the investigations that have been taken forward have been successful investigations and have been brought to a proper conclusion in terms of bringing matters before the courts. And that work carries on. And I know that GSOC have been informed of that work that is ongoing at this moment as well.
Deputy